Why F-4 Phantom II fighter is such a legendary plane? The McDonnell Douglas F-4 Phantom II is an American tandem two-seat, twin-engine, all-weather, long-range supersonic jet interceptor and fighter bomber originally developed by McDonnell Aircraft for the United States Navy. Proving highly adaptable, it entered service with the Navy in 1961 before it was adopted by the United States Marine Corps and the United States Air Force, and by the mid-1960s it had become a major part of their air arms. Phantom production ran from 1958 to 1981 with a total of 5,195 aircraft built, making it the most produced American supersonic military aircraft in history, and cementing its position as an iconic combat aircraft of the Cold War. The plane may have been ugly, but it broke many records and is still in service in some countries today. The F-4 was used extensively during the Vietnam War. It served as the principal air superiority fighter for the U.S. Air Force. During the Vietnam War, the F-4 continued to form a major part of U.S. military air power throughout the 1970s and 1980s, being gradually replaced by more modern aircraft such as the F-15 Eagle and F-16 Fighting Falcon in the U.S. Air Force, the F-14 Tomcat in the U.S. Navy, and the F-A-18 Hornet in the U.S. Navy and U.S. Marine Corps. Despite the many aspects of its design that were undoubtedly cutting edge, the F-4 saw a checkered combat record in the war. The chief problem stemmed from its lack of an integrated cannon, forcing it to rely on a newly introduced and problem-ridden coterie of air-to-air missiles. The initial AIM-7 and AIM-9 iterations suffered from an abysmal failure rate, with roughly half of both missiles failing to launch or lock on. After accounting for countermeasures and evasive maneuvers, their actual kill rate couldn't exceed 20% even under the most generous estimates. An iconic U.S. fighter of the Vietnam War era, the McDonnell Douglas F-4 Phantom II manages to trade performance blows with some fourth-generation fighters and remains in service with militaries across the world. Design qualms notwithstanding, the F-4 proceeded to break numerous speed records that would be beaten only with the introduction of the F-15 some decades later. Serial F-4 units managed to reach speeds of up to Mach 22. The F-4 wasn't particularly agile, nor was it meant to bite, largely served in an interceptor role, whereas the F-8 Crusader was the Navy's preferred air superiority fighter. The F-4 has its roots in 1950s efforts by McDonnell Aircraft Corporation to design a new attack fighter for the U.S. Navy. Following two concept demonstrators, the F-4 entered serial production in 1961. Originally a carrier-based interceptor. There is no way around the fact that, as noted by no shortage of observers, the F-4 is a strikingly ugly fighter, earning such unflattering nicknames as the Big Iron Sled and Flying Brick over its long tenure. To be sure, there are some obvious engineering justifications behind the F-4's design. The protruding nose, for instance, contains an upgraded APQ-120 radar array. Meanwhile, its oddly upturned wings are a pre-production correction made to eliminate potential instability at high sustained speeds. The fighter was powered by massive twin J79 twin engines, providing superb thrust and enabling a prodigious 8,400 kilograms payload spread across 9 external hardpoints. These shortcomings were addressed, or at least mitigated, with later weapons revisions such as the AIM-7E2. Meanwhile, the popular F-4E variant finally introduced AIM-61 Vulcan internal cannon. With these modifications, the F-4 grew out of a pure interceptor into something approximating a multi-role fighter. Later F-4s ran everything from suppression to reconnaissance missions. The time F-4 serial production ended in 1979, a whopping 5,195 models had been built. The F-4 began to be gradually phased out with the 1970s introduction of the F-15 for the Air Force and F-14 for the Navy, being officially retired in 1996. But the fighter continues to fly across the world. Israel, Turkey, South Korea, Japan, Greece, and Iran still operate large numbers of F-4s. With the exception of South Korea, these models were significantly modified to fit the importer's use case. In spite of its rough start, the F-4 leveraged its impressive specifications and a slew of common-sense improvements to become one of the most flexible and prolific fighters of its time.